Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Brothers in Arms, a new way for men to talk. I am your host, comedian Edgar Rivera, and I'm joined today by my brothers, Dr. Dan Radner and comedian Eric Nieves. What's up, brothers?
Good to see you,
fellas.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you as always, man. How's everything, Eric? How was your week?
Oh, the week is good, man. The only thing that's bothering me is, change of seasons. It starts to get, dark early. Don't like that, but it's starting to get cold too. But yeah, man, you got to get the jackets out of the closet. You know how that goes. Well, not you. You live in California, so you don't have winters no more.
You still need jackets out here. Don't get it twisted.
People for what? To cover the oranges? California. Get out of here. You don't need no jacket. Dan, talk to this man, all right? You in Cleveland, you need jackets.
Listen, yeah, well, it's certainly true. I lived in LA for 2 years, so I know that it actually can get cold there. But I got to put it in quotes because
I was going to say
relative, when frost is on the ground. Listen, there's something about LA when it's cold. It's colder there. You're just like, it should not be like this. It's your mindset, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know me,
It's
I'm
true.
all about the mindset. But speaking of mindset, for me, this time of year is always a little bit of a challenge because it's getting darker. I hate that. One of my favorite days of the year, I think we talked about this last week, is December 21st, the shortest day of the year. It gets longer and longer for 6 months after that. Love that day.
December 21st is the shortest day of the year?
It is.
Isn't
so
that your
the
birthday,
turning
Eric?
Point. No, that's not my birthday.
You're this 19th, right?
No, that's not my birthday either.
When's your birthday?
Our friendship seems to be getting closer and closer as we speak.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Do I hear five? Do I hear five? Do I hear five? Was he born on the 5th? The 5th.
When's your birthday, Eric?
I'm not going to tell you. You should know this, brother.
Isn't it the 20th? The 20th?
You know what? Never mind. If the 4 guesses is enough, let's move on.
Getting worse and worse.
Jesus.
You know what? This is
Well,
becoming
even though, to be fair, it's easy to remember Edgar's birthday because he was born on a national holiday.
I hate my birthday. My birthday's 4th of July. I'm competing with America. You know how horrible that is? I've never been able to throw a party. Everyone
You'll always be
celebrates my
younger.
birthday.
And by the way, it should be easy to throw a party. People are already ready to go out, and they're probably bringing their own food. All you have to do is show up. This is like the easiest party idea in the world. Just show up.
Exactly. But now I'm going crazy thinking about when it's Eric's birthday.
I was going to say, this is going to become our walking the walk. The times where
The times where you don't
I know it's
your
in
friend's
December.
birthday.
Am I right? It's December though.
Yeah, you know what? Since 1 out of 12 ain't bad, you got the month right. I'll give you that. Thank you.
Yes,
I
the
feel the warmth.
17th.
Huh?
The 17th?
Yeah, that's it. There you go. There you
He
go.
acted,
that?
Dr.
I
Dan,
can't
as
tell.
if I was so far off, you know?
Yeah, he only took 6 tries, man. I feel the friendship
I
just
said-
oozing from the screen.
I said
It
December
is
19th,
true.
and he said, not even close.
Not even close. 2 full days off.
Warm. Nah, man, I'm happy. I'm happy to be back here with you guys as always, man. I look forward to this the most. I stress the show, like I always say. I stress leading up to the show, but once we get here, it makes me feel great. And I'm glad, like I said, glad to be back here with you guys. So let's get right into it, man, this week. So, Dr. Dan, you want to take us in?
All right. It's time for old news, maybe from yesterday.
That's right, because there is no such thing as old news, just news that hasn't been discussed recently.
Yes.
So today that's right. So today we're going to talk about what do men think women want from us? Because that's like, that's always a big thing. Like men are always wondering, what do women want from a man? Or what are they looking for in a man? So I wanted to look up a list of things that men think women think are important, but that women maybe don't think are that important, meaning that maybe we put more weight on it and more importance to it than women actually give it. So I took 2 surveys, one and 2 from 2 articles. One was written by a man, and one was written by a woman because I wanted to have balance. So it was 2 different lists, but they had 5 things in common on both lists. So these are the 5 things that we think are important to women, but may not be as important as we think. Now, the first thing is the money they make. Now, granted, they don't want someone that is living in their mother's basement, but if it's someone that can afford to pay their bills, and they're not looking to get supported, but they don't need to be rich. Sometimes we think we need to be rolling in it to be attracted to women, and it's really not as important as we think. The next thing is the body type, the type of guy that spends all his time at the gym. We think that women are really looking for that, and it's not as important to them as we might think. Someone who puts them on a pedestal or treats them like a princess. Not as attractive to women as men might think. A lot of times they look at it as almost almost demeaning, like you have to put them on a pedestal and not treat them like an equal. that they have to show their vulnerability all the time. Sometimes we think we don't have to show it all the time. They appreciate it. We think it's important, but it may not be as important to them as we think. And the fifth one is the one that struck me the most because it was on both lists. Penis size. Yes. Though both lists said that women said penis size is not as important to them as it is to us. And I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either.
I'm not sure about that last one. I agreed with the first four, but the penis one, I was like, is that true?
So wait,
I don't.
Eric, these were, you combined these two lists to kind of
I took what I did is I took the whatever was on both lists because there were two separate lists. I wanted to see which topics appeared on both lists.
Right.
And they were both lists of like 20 different things, but these were the 5 things that appeared on both lists. So they had that in common. So that's why I picked these because both lists had them on there in the article, but both had penis size. So, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know about that one.
That left
honestly.
us all speechless.
Look, this guy's talking about penises. We can say dicks, right? Dicks. All right. Men talking about their dicks or penises. We always think, I think since you're a kid, you're taught to think you have the biggest one. Isn't that ingrained in your head since you're a kid? I don't remember a father saying, you know what, you're going to have an average one. Be happy. You know what I mean? They always say, my son's hung like a horse. You hype up your shit.
Listen, this shows me that neither of you grew up Jewish. That's not something that was said in a Jewish family.
Tell us, Dr. Dan.
Look, our life starts with circumcision. They make our dicks smaller right from the start.
Oh, wow. That's right. You get 10% off right from the top.
Too big.
I told you I can do comedy.
You're doing comedy, baby.
That's
but seriously, the gist of that was that we think that women are just looking for like huge penises, and really it's not as a big deal to them as we might think. So
let me start though. Let's take a step back here because before we even get into what we think women want that they don't, that it proves not to be true, do you guys recognize that it's not even very likely that we have any idea what they want? Like, I find that's true with people in general. When I sit down to talk with a patient, if I started going with what I think they want, I would be wrong like almost all of the time. I know this is a repetitive theme that we talk about here about listening, but it's kind of funny to even think that men think they would know this. Like we don't, in general, I don't think we listen well enough to have any clue what they actually want.
Yeah.
What do
for
you
us
guys
to
think
even
about
know.
Well, these were women that were polled. So this is not men writing articles or developing a list not based on the opinions of others. These women were polled. They were asked these questions to see what was important to them. My thing is, are people honest on these polls?
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean?
I didn't realize that. So you're saying these were brought to us directly by, like, these are the actual opinions of women.
Responses from women. Responses from women to what's important to them. Not just an article written. These were polls that were taken, and on 2 different polls, penis is not as important as we think.
See, I wasn't even listening well enough to you. This is what I'm talking about.
Let's see. They got to listen, man. That's why we're here, to learn how to listen. But I could understand the money thing because, it's not that women are independent. They make their own money. So I can understand why, they don't want somebody you have to be rolling in it. They don't want to support you, I think is pretty much what that says. It's like, I don't want to pay for every dinner, or I'd like to go Dutch every once in a while. The body thing I get because I think the dad bod is like popular now, which blows my mind because there was a time I remember if you didn't have if you weren't ripped, you got to get into shape. But dad bods are in style now, right?
Yes. I'm happy about that.
Look how happy Edgar is.
Very happy about the dad bod.
I knew if I waited long enough, it would come around. It's like wearing a shirt and hoping it comes back into style. It's like, nah, man, I ain't losing this. I'm going to walk 3 miles, 5 miles a day and still say this way, but it's going to come back in style.
Mm-hmm. But it's like Dr. Dan said. I think Dr. Dan brought up a good point. do we really know what we want? Especially, I mean, so I think women tend to know more when what they want in a relationship. You know, they're more, to me, they're more pickier than men. But do men really know what women want? You know, in our minds, you know, like if I ask you guys a question now, like Dr. Dan, what are 3 things that you think a woman will want from you as a man?
You want me to take a stab at it?
Yeah, take a
All
stab
right.
at it.
Okay.
Knowing you, being you, like what you
I
personally think women want from you.
Listen, remember, this is my particular perspective. I think the number one thing that women want from us is to listen. I actually think is the number one thing everybody wants. I think that they want, I think a sense of humor is probably way up there. And I think thoughtfulness. And you get it from listening, but then that's the action of it.
All right.
There's so many, but I'll throw out those 3.
All right. What about you, Eric?
Well, I mean, I think it's difficult to generalize, you know, any large group, you know, especially if you're going to try to generalize men and women, because there's going to be a bunch of differences. I do think, like Dr. Dan said, listening, sense of humor is always a good ingredient. But I think what a woman wants will be based on where she's at as a person and as a woman. I think it'll vary based on that. You know, I think younger women will want different things than a woman that is more mature and has lived some of her life. So I think it's not even just a male or female thing. It's where you're at in your life thing.
It's an important point, because really, you know, if you ask people what are the absolute most important things to them, a lot of times both of you make really good points, because Edgar's making the point, a lot of us may not even fully know what we want, and that makes it all the more complicated. But there's also these individual things where different people are going to need different things, because they're totally different people, and they're even going to need different things at different times in their lives. So this is where I think listening is so great, though. You know, it fits everywhere. If you keep listening, you'll get that message. Maybe it changes, but you've already built in the listening.
I personally think they want a man that is connected with their emotions, that is emotionally connected, love, security, you know, feel protected. I you know, for me, that's how I feel. But it's crazy how some, like you say, Dr. Dan, there's some woman that might want a man who's emotionally connected, that's connected with his emotions, that's not afraid to show his emotions. But at the same time, there's other women that don't like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So as a single man out here in this dating world right now, that's why it's weird, because I've been thinking about this. Like, what is my style? Like, what do I want? You know what I'm saying? I have a style, crazy, but like, let's not talk about that. But you know what do women want, and what do you want as a man, and how do you find someone that and see the differences? It's so weird, because everyone is different. Every day. Today I might want someone who loves me. Tomorrow I might want someone who could support me. You know? And
you mean financially
how do you
support
settle?
you?
Excuse me?
You mean financially support you or emotionally support you? Because I'm all about financial support.
Me
But
too.
I just
That's
want
the
to
one
know
I was talking about.
exactly.
I didn't even know. I don't need help with my emotions.
No, I was just saying, because you were like, one day I want them to love me, and the other day I want them to support me. I'm like, is there a difference? Unless it's about money.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's about money. It could be about money. It could be about work. It could be about anything you do in life. You know what I'm saying? But it's such a, when we came up with this topic, I was like, I started thinking about it, going crazy, and I'm like, how do we know? How do we really know? Unless you meet someone that could probably, you could see that in that person. For someone to say, I want this, and this, and that. I mean, it's so hard to find someone that's gonna fit that person that we want.
There's also all those things that we, and when I say we, I'm talking about like the kind of my global sense of men and how we're interacting with the global sense of women. There's this idea, at least in male circles, that a woman's gonna want someone who is tough or could stand up for themselves. I don't know where that is now, you know, because our culture is also changing. Where do you guys think that is now?
As far as the toughness, you mean, for a woman to want a tough guy?
Yeah. Has that changed?
I think it has.
I think it depends on where you live. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
not for
that's
nothing.
true.
If you
That's true.
if you live in a neighborhood where things could happen at any time, you don't want somebody that can scrap. You know, if you live in the valley, maybe not so much. You know, and again, I think that's also dependent on where you are. I think I can only speak as an older person, but I know an 18, 19-year-old girl might feel safer with someone that could fight a little in a bad neighborhood. You know.
But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
At the same time, I think sometimes people like that could feel less safe with somebody who's prone to fighting. It's okay if you're able to.
But see, there's a key difference. See, there's the ability to do it and the desire to do it. Now, that's totally different. I think one thing that I did notice there was another thing I read, that the idea of the alpha male was losing attraction for women. You know, this need that the man needs to be the alpha male, in control, being overly aggressive, and really made the distinction between confidence and arrogance being the difference. So, I think it's about, they don't mind assertive, they just don't want aggressive. They don't mind someone, kind of taking control when necessary, but not always feeling like they have to be in control all the time, which I think a lot of times as men, we feel like if we're not in control of the situation, that we're not doing our jobs as men.
Actually, I just thought of another thing. Like when I was thinking about that question that you guys asked about, what are three things? And listening is number one. I think sense of humor is great too. But I do think confidence, like true confidence, is another one that tends to be true across the board for everybody.
Yes, I agree with you. And that's and I said this numerous times. I think the reason relationships are so hard nowadays is because people are not true to themselves. You meet someone you like, you like this girl, she likes romantic flicks. You never watched romantic flicks, but here you are after this girl, and you get into romantic flicks just because you want to, fit into her lifestyle. And people are not honest, and that's the problem nowadays. So going back to your question, Dr. Dan, when you said is that fading away, the tough guy stigma? And I think it is. I think now in this day and age where we at now, where mental health is such a big issue, where more men are coming out and explaining and talking about their mental health issues, I think now women are opening more to men like this, But it depends, because not everyone is like this. Then you might have a girl who lives in the South Bronx who wants a tough guy that could defend her and walk down the street, like you say, Eric. So it's so hard.
I just think that the trend is very much moving, and I think this is a good thing. It fits with our show. The trend is that I think the feeling is that men have for centuries and millennia been too far towards that direction, and I think generally a lot of women these days want to at least have men who are capable of talking. This is a show that's about men talking. It's not a new way to fight. Like nobody needs a new way to fight.
Right, brothers crossing arms. You know what I mean? Brothers throwing arms. You know what I mean? That'd be a totally different show. And I think I think in this as men, as we've evolved, we know the difference of you don't have to look for trouble. Just be ready for it. That's really that's a real true tough guy. And not the guy that bumps shoulders looking to fight somebody because they got aggression they got to let out in public. The real tough guy is the one that's just ready for it. That's, at least to me, in my opinion, the real quiet ones that are ready for it. Those are the real tough guys. The other ones, they just yapping, and a lot of times it's not about being tough because they're just looking to just let out some steam on somebody else, just let off on somebody else. And 9 times out of 10, guys don't use their hands anymore anyway. You know what I mean? It's not like the old days where, you'd have to stand toe-to-toe with somebody if you had a problem with them. And the fight wouldn't start until both of you had your toes touching, and then you went at it. I mean, people don't fight like that anymore. At least guys don't, Even though I've seen some of these videos, man, some of these women fight worse than men ever did. Have you seen some of these videos of women going at each other, pulling hair and stuff? It's like, wow.
No, but I'm gonna definitely Google it. Listen, I think it has a lot to do with time and the difference in how times have changed. Because back in the days, you will ask a woman what they want from a man. They probably want a man who could provide and go out and make the money while they stay home and take care of their family. But nowadays, times have changed. Now the woman, I know I have a friend who he stays home. He's the daddy of the house, while his wife goes out to work because she's the real moneymaker in the relationship. You know what I'm saying? Back in the days, that would never be a thing. So it's different. I mean, I guess with time, everything changes. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I also wonder if it changes with this goes with something you were saying, Edgar. People being more honest. You know, maybe women didn't feel like they could say what they really wanted, or maybe men weren't listening so well, or maybe women weren't even listening to women so well. So, I do think we've made some major progress in society talking to each other. Like, that's something that I feel like my field has contributed pretty well. I'm not saying that the field is perfect because there's actually a lot of problems in it, but one of the great things is just working on getting people to say what's really going on.
Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because everybody's different. We are all different. You know, I went on before this and I went on the live real quick just to ask women 3 things that they look for in a man, you know, and the answers were crazy. They gave me some crazy answers. You know, this lady wrote good teeth. Good teeth. We're here thinking that we want to be macho and we want to be tough and provide, but all you need is good teeth, good hygiene. I had a girl tell me one time that she said clean shoes. Clean shoes. Like,
That was
like
it? Wow,
that,
that-
Didn't
that's
matter.
it.
Didn't matter the
That-
type of shoe, just as long as they were clean.
I did a show and I asked her from stage. I said, one thing you look for in a man, and she said, clean shoes. Out of all the things in the world, I mean, any guy could get this. As soon as I buy new sneakers, I could get lucky with this girl, you know. But it's crazy. The answers: clean shoes, sense of humor. Sense of humor is up there. I also heard a man of God. That's another
Well,
thing
you should stop asking that question at church then.
What about niceness? Like, one of the reasons I ask is, a long time ago when I was single, I noticed that a lot of times I would see people in relationships not treating each other that well. And I'd be like, it seems like they don't want to be with somebody who's so nice. And I also know that was kind of a trope in pop culture and stuff, like that nice guys finish last, that kind of thing. Is that something that's changing?
Yeah,
I think it is. I think there was that whole thing about nice guys finishing last. I think that's gone. I think they want they want the nerds. They want the Jeff Zuckerberg. They want, you know what I mean? That's changing. You know what I mean? But I also think it all depends on the relationship with dad. Let's face it. That's the first man in every woman's life. I mean, how impactful is dad to any woman that you've met? The relationship that they have with pops and the type of man that their pops was, there's going to be certain aspects of what they're looking for is going to have something that's similar to their father. That's my opinion. I mean, so man. If she's used to a certain level of respect, because and also not only the relationship with her and her father, but the relationship that she viewed her father having with her mother.
Right.
I think that is even just as impactful, if not more so, because that's the template for treatment moving forward. You know what I mean? That's what she's gonna say. This is how relationships work. The first male-female relationship she ever saw and saw evolve are the parents. So I think whatever dynamic they had, I think she's going to want, that woman will lean towards that. I'm not saying it's a definitive thing, but I think she'll lean towards that. What do you think, Dr. Dan?
Well, I've often, it's funny because I'm thinking about this both as a therapist, but also as a dad, and primarily as a dad. I was thinking, I really do take that responsibility very seriously because I see it similarly. I think that what I'm setting out there for my girls is going to be what they're expecting. And I agree that it is how I treat them and also how I treat my wife, but it's also how I let myself be treated by them or by my wife. So that's another important aspect. I think the best thing you can do for any kid when it comes to these kinds of things and set them up right is to be really, really open and honest about what your experience is, with an emphasis on kindness as much as you can. In one direction or another, like whether it's you expect people to treat you with kindness or you're going to give kindness to other people. I think that I mean, I'm just really interested. I don't know how we got to the place that we were at, like a generation or two ago, where it did feel like kindness wasn't one of the top values, as far as I could see.
It was more like security and
Well, I think I mean, remember there was a time when greed was good in the 80s. Yeah, I mean there was a time when it was all about just being about yourself. I think right now we're at a place where kindness is more generally accepted. There was a time, like you said, it was almost looked down upon. It was looked as a sign of weakness to be kind.
Right.
Which kills me because I think it takes real strength to be kind. It really takes weakness to be an asshole to people, but that's just my opinion.
Well, and actually, if you look at pop culture, sometimes it measures that. We were three of us were talking about this recently, the show Ted Lasso. Edgar and I love this show. We're going to get Eric to watch it too.
Yes, this weekend. I guarantee next episode, and this is my guarantee, I'm saying it on camera, I will have watched at least 4 episodes of Ted Lasso.
Nice.
By our next tape.
And listen, I'm just jealous. I'm like, I can't believe you get to watch them for the first time, and I don't.
Fresh eyes.
I have to wait this season. But Jason Sudeikis, who is the main creator of the show, I know he wrote it with other people. He plays Ted Lasso, and he did his SNL monologue was this weekend, I think, this last weekend, and he was saying, I was kind of surprised that people loved the show so much because it's about 2 things that Americans hate. Soccer and kindness. And I think there's something really interesting in that. I mean, I can tell you, I spotted Ted Lasso in that kindness part. I mean, the soccer part, I like, but not like the kindness part. I'm like, thank God something like that is going on. Mm-hmm. And there's been certain shows like that, but I do think it's a sign of the times that people are that into it. I think they're tired of all the aggression everywhere.
Mm-hmm. True. I had someone to write on as a comment. They wrote PDA, public display of affection, right? Which is interesting as well. And
does that bother them? You said?
No. This is what a woman will want in a man. PDA, passion, public display of affection, like when they walking with their man down the street. So now I'm gonna ask you fellas the same question. Dr. Dan, when you walk down the street, do you hold your wife's hand? Do you kiss in public? Do you show that PDA in public?
I mean, it's interesting. I would, but the other thing is you have to measure the partner you're with. Like, my wife is actually she's kind of private about this. She wouldn't want that.
Okay.
She wants the displays of affection, like, in the home. Mm-hmm. She wants to feel loved. She wants to be hugged and stuff like that. But, I don't get the sense that she really wants that publicly so much. So that's just interesting.
Interesting. Good one. What about you, Eric?
So no ass grabbing in the market, Dr. Dan? Nothing like that. I'm just saying, you're reaching for Cheerios.
No Whole Foods.
There are multiple reasons that I don't do that.
What's that? But my wife and I we do hold hands still, believe it or not. Yeah, we still hold hands. Not all the time, just I would say maybe 50% of the time. We still hold hands, We don't really, remember back in the day, you was proud to, when you was like 16, 17, you was proud to make out with somebody in the middle of the street just so everybody could know you were making out. It was like, you just.
It's just funny. It's
disturbing,
just funny, because one of my responses to this whole thing is when you asked that question, Edgar, it kind of broke me out of a reverie, and I suddenly thought, I haven't thought about what anybody thinks about me and my wife at all. And I think that's actually a good thing. Like, I care what she thinks. I care about what I think. I care about what my kids think. But after that, I don't care what anybody thinks. So but I know what you're talking about, Eric, in those days, where like you're a teenager or something and you're like, this is my girl,
I think it with time, it fades away. It's crazy because I remember back then, I would see more people holding hands in the street. You will see that more back in the days as opposed to now. I don't know. Now I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, how weird is that to hold someone's hand on the street like they're your property? You know,
Is that how you look at it? Really?
Who's protecting who? You know, is she
Yeah,
protecting me or am I protecting her?
Was there a chain on her wrist when they were holding hands?
No, because you know what's crazy? No, it's crazy because some women would want that as a man. Some like, obviously, look, someone wants PDA, someone wants that affection to be shown, and there's other women who, if as a man you don't do it, then it'll bring a doubt in their hand, like, "What? You embarrassed of me? Are you embarrassed to be with me in public?"
I think Dan said it right. It's up to the individual. Some people really are into holding hands. Some people think it's ridiculous. You know, it's just a matter of knowing your partner. The one thing I think that is important to all of them above that is, and you mentioned it, Dr. Dan, that you said you don't care what others think about you and your wife. I think what matters most to our wives or our female partners or women in general is that their opinion matters to us, like what they think matters to us as much or even more than anybody else.
Yeah,
you know, like
even if I were to, you know, engage in some kind of PDA, if it would be best if it just comes from the fact that I just wanted to hold her hand, the fact that I just wanted to give her a hug, not the fact
that you're doing it because she's expecting you to do it or because she wants you to do it. So I think when it happens like that, Dr. Dan, it's more like, okay, I wanted to do this. It's not like a pressure of, you know, you have to hold my hand everywhere you go, you know, to like let people know that we're together. You know what I'm saying?
I just think a lot of these things take care of themselves if you're coming from a good place with your partner and they're coming from a good place with you. You just naturally fall into what do they want and what do you want? And you don't have to size it up and decide, okay, now I'm going to do this, or now I'm going to, like, when you're in the flow of it, you don't have to think about it so much, I think.
And everybody holds hands the first 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That when you first start dating, I mean, especially Edgar, because apparently he puts chains on his woman's wrist when he holds her hand.
No,
because he considers it. I've never heard anyone say holding hands was a sign of property. You know, you hold hands.
He wasn't saying it about himself. He was.
No,
the way that some people hold, like
he was observing.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've seen people
were they
hold,
pulling?
like,
There's a difference between holding hands and dragging her in the car. Which one were you witnessing? I want to make sure no one got dragged in the car. I just want to make sure.
No.
I just want to make sure it scared me a little bit.
Like, I don't know. You could tell. I do a lot of people watching, man. When I'm out and about, you know, and I could tell that there's couples that hold hands and they generally want to hold each other's hands, and then you could tell sometimes when they're like, it's like they're doing it because it's like a routine, you know, like, oh, I'm just doing it just to keep her quiet so she won't talk, you know, just to like please her, you know. So it's the difference. Back in the days, I feel like there was more PDA than there is now, which is weird, you know. But let me ask you something, Eric. On that list, you said the list was the things that women did not care about, right?
They don't care about it as much as we think they do. They might care about it to a certain extent, but these were things that we deemed really important as far as what we think women want, and it just didn't carry as much weight as we probably think it does.
And what was number one? Do you have the list? What was number one on that list?
Well, I mean, I can go back to the actual list because I only took five items that were on both lists, and I didn't rank them.
Okay. I'm just curious to see what number one was.
That's not true. I did. The first thing on both lists was the money thing, which that was actually first on both lists. One said salary, the other one said fortune. And I think it's, you know, it's definitely changed over the years. Like you said, Edgar, women work now; they earn their own money. They don't need someone to come and pay their bills. They just don't want to pay your bills. That's really the difference now. Is that, you know, just don't come at me with your hand out and we'll be good. You know what I mean? There'll always be women that will want someone to support them. And I'm not against marrying someone rich. If my wife is in a tragic accident and a rich 80-year-old woman from a cruise ship proposes, I'm not against saying yes to that. I believe in geriatric love. But it's, you know, what I say?
You know, it's
My
funny.
wife's right there. She's gonna kill me after the show. This is my last episode.
I got lost in what you were
of
saying,
Brothers in Arms.
and it made it sound like if you died, that you wouldn't mind if your wife married an 80-year-old woman.
Oh no! Listen, if
That's what
I
it sounded
die,
like.
if I die in a tragic balloon accident tomorrow, and my wife meets an 85-year-old man that's rich, I will send blessings from heaven and instructions how to make him die by 86, and then so she could just live off the money.
I just think that what's being expressed there, that to me is not surprising at all. Look, I think if many people, if they were given like the choice between, okay, here's this great guy who makes a good amount of money and this great guy who makes less money, maybe they would choose the guy who's great and makes the money. But I think that the idea that people would choose people just based on money, that's pretty rare, I think. Because people get really unhappy really fast. Okay, Edgar had a look there.
Edgar had a look.
I beg to differ on that. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of girls out there that's their main priority, you know? And I mean, I'm not throwing, I don't want women to hate me now. I don't want women to be like, oh, Edgar's a hater. No, I'm not a hater, but there is. Just like there is men that are out there looking for a woman who is successful and financially stable where we don't have to worry about them as well.
But this
listen, there's, sometimes it's about not just maybe raking in a big payday, but just about survival. You know what I mean? You don't want to be in a relationship that's struggling financially, which is, you know what I mean? It's because relationships are tough enough, and then you add financial strain on top of that.
Well, see, that's something that people. Sorry, Eric, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's good. No, go.
That's something that people, I think, often miss. They think that if somebody wants somebody who has money, that it means that they're shallow. It could be about security, like actual security, where it's like, it stresses me out to no end to not know if we're going to be okay. A lot of people don't want to live with that, and it makes perfect sense. I think that's something I'd like to kind of keep pushing forward on, is to bring down the judgment level that we have about what people want. I'd rather open the door to, like, you know what? Just tell me what you do want. Let me try to understand what you actually want and why, instead of judging it.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, it could be the difference between two people. They both got great personalities. One has a decent job. The other one is living in mom's basement. A woman that's raising a child can't make an irresponsible choice and pick the dude that's living in the basement if she has an option that's just as good of someone that's willing to work and put in the time. So, you know, like, granted, there'll always be somebody that just wants somebody for their money, but you know, if it's just that, then they have a serious psychological issue, because they're not even looking at anything in that person besides the finances. Then there's something wrong there, because that's not love. That's just, I just want to get paid.
That's a transaction.
What's more important, love or money?
Well, what's more important, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Love or money?
That's what you're saying, right? That's basically what you're breaking it down. You know, there's a woman out there that could just look for, and I'm not saying just women, because there's men as well, but you know,
why can't you have both?
You could have both.
Why is one exclusive from the other?
Yeah, you could.
You know,
have both.
and so I mean, I guess it depends. I mean, you know, if you're in love with somebody and they're a struggling artist, so that's a little different than someone that's not working or striving for a dream. A struggling artist is different than someone that lives in mom's basement and plays video games 14 hours a day.
A struggling unemployed person who doesn't want to.
Exactly. No, they're not struggling. They choose to be an unemployed. A struggling artist is struggling to make something of themselves. A dude that's sitting in the basement ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, or you know, there can be people who are just unemployed and genuinely want to have a job, and that
can't find one right now.
There's no shame in that either. But
right.
I think for somebody who is actively pursuing a dream and it's hurting them in the wallet, then I think there's some great stuff in that too, that you can really value, that somebody's following their dream. Guys, I want to shift gears a little bit to get to some breaking the mold, because I was thinking about this topic, and I was thinking about, okay, well, we have all these expectations of what women want from us. Are there ways that you guys break the mold, or you're aware of other people who do, that, you know, maybe fit with this, that would be surprising, that women would be like, oh, I didn't know that about you, or that maybe you keep close to the vest because of what you think women expect of you?
I love doing laundry.
Do you actually?
Yeah, I enjoy doing laundry. Yeah, and there's a lot of men that probably be like, hell no. But I think laundry to me is real, relaxing. It's just like no stress, So that's one way that I definitely break the mold,
That's a
Cooking.
good breaking the mold. It's a good selling point, I would think.
Cooking.
Cooking?
I'm still stuck on laundry. Like,
I saw the look on your face. That's why I said it.
well, because I'm like, so what do you do? Like when a woman comes over, you
no
turn on like a candle and then like a Luther Vandross album, and you say,
get out
babe,
the
you
tie.
want me
And then
to
I
want me to
turn
put
on-
in a load?
I'll turn on Greg's
Turn
laundry
off
machine.
the light, light a candle. Din, din.
No. I mean, there's a lot of I mean, I can speak for a lot of couples out there. There's couples out there that the man would not do laundry, and that's part of that woman's job. And it's not like that nowadays. Man, might have been like that back in the days, but now women are stepping up, like you said, Eric. And there's I think I break the mold by I won't let my woman go do laundry by herself. I don't mind taking my time so we could both do it together as a couple. Doing dishes is another one.
I'll tell you one way that I don't know if this is breaking the mold or not exactly, but I don't know what women do want in this scenario, but like if there is a situation, I think Eric at one point you said something like this, when we were discussing this show, so I don't mean to steal your thunder on it, but I'm not going to fight. Very, very unlikely that I'm going to fight. I mean, if there's a situation that absolutely requires it, I would. But I'm certainly not going to do it over pride or anything like that. For me, this is going to sound extreme, but it's like I grew up knowing about mortality. I'm not going to risk that over some dumb stuff. I'm just not going to do it. Eric, you had said something about this. I'm not recalling what exactly it was, but can you relate to that?
Oh yeah, because if I go out with a woman and we get into some shit, I hope she could fight. Because if she can't fight, we both going down.
But I think what you said is that you kind of see it more as a team. Like you take.
Listen. Listen. If he's tall, go low. I'll go high. You know what I mean? And Dan, when was the last time you were actually in a fight? Do you remember?
I have very rarely gotten in any fights. The last time I probably got in a fight and I think I've had it like maybe 2 or 3 times in my whole life. Well, listen, if I factor my brother in, sorry, bro, but there were some fights there. That was probably the last time. We were like 24 years old.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, that was old. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I thought he was going to say like 12.
We were 12,
listen,
jumping from bed to bed. He said we were 30,
that,
31.
If you go back from that, it was probably like 13.
Oh, was that?
It was
were you fighting that girl that broke up with you that year? Because I remember that was a rough year for you. You got your heart broken. You got into a fight. Oh, by the way, yeah, I was gonna say 13 was a very rough year. I'll tell you right now, Dan seems mild mannered, but let somebody mess with his kids, he'll turn into Liam Neeson in Taken. Be like, a special set of skills.
That's no joke. Like, if I'm going to fight, it would be if somebody messes with my kids.
There you go.
That gets you primitive as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I've had family members. I see them. They're the most peaceful people in the world. I've never seen them get into any trouble. But I've seen people mess with their kids. It was a wrap. It was a wrap.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, real quick, before I go into my breaking the mold, the number one thing that women want from men, one of the things, it was for a man that makes her feel safe in being herself.
Beautiful.
Isn't that wild?
Beautiful.
Now, I just thought that's interesting. All the stuff we were
ways.
worried about, and that's what they just want someone that will allow them to be confident to be themselves. You start with that, you win.
You know what's funny? If you applied that to the other side, like, isn't that what men want also?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we don't know how to talk about it, and that's where I've always been an overly sensitive guy. You ask any guy that has known me growing up, I'm not trying to pretend to be nothing I'm not. I was always, sensitive. I've always been that way, and I've always worn my heart in my sleeve, and I've always just spoken my feelings. That's just the way I've been. It's the way I've been since I was a kid. I get that from my dad. My dad wore his heart on his sleeve. He talked about everything, and it hurt me in the romantic department because the girls wanted to be my friends because I was such a good talker, and then they want me to introduce them to the cute guy that didn't say a word. But
I can relate to that.
you know what I mean? It's, I was like, oh, she likes me. He's like, oh, is that your friend? I'm like, damn it, not my friend again. You know, I was the wingman that never got anybody, but I would be the bridge because I was the conversationalist.
This
But-
sounds
but-
like a walking the walk to me. You got friend zoned.
Dude, I got friend zoned by an entire neighborhood. The whole neighborhood. I was friends with every girl on my block growing up. Every single girl, we were friends. We was homeboys. They loved my sense of humor. We would talk all the time. None of them would go out with me. None of them.
So that's fascinating though, because let's back up here. When we're thinking about what women want, I'm curious what they would say about interpreting this. Like,
Well, I was a kid. It was a different time then. All right, you know what I mean? Like this, we're talking a long time ago. If I were a teenager now, I think I would be in much better shape than being
Right.
a teenager in the 80s when I was a teenager, when that kind of sensitivity was like pussy. You know what I mean? Like that was like, like guys would make fun of me because I was just, you can only be their friends because I can open up, I can talk. And I was never afraid to talk about my feelings. I was never afraid to cry if I needed to, So it would have been different in this generation than it was back then.
but I think it's great that you knew who you were and you stayed with who you were even in that situation. And by the way, I can really relate to that, Eric.
Kindred spirit.
I mean, I definitely got friend zoned at certain points. It wasn't always the case, but if I did get friend zoned, it was partly because I was such a good friend and I was listening and all that stuff. And what I found was the case actually is that I had to cross over a certain line where I could be that good friend, but I also had to have confidence in me as like my own man. And I that was harder for me, partly because I grew up without a father figure in lots of ways, without an actual father for many years. And I didn't have the confidence to go ahead and be, to believe in myself as somebody who would be good in that way. But I knew that I was I knew that I was nice. I knew I was a good listener. I knew that I had all kinds of skills that other people didn't have. And I totally agree with you. If we were growing up in this day and age, it would have been a totally different story.
We'd be stud muffins. But back then, I was having a girl I had a crush on talk to me for half an hour and to ask me, can you introduce me to your cousin?
I got friend zoned a lot.
What?
as well.
Are you serious? And the irony is that cousin just arrived an hour previous to this conversation to visit. And within that hour, she ignored me, who she'd known for 2 years, for my just got there in an hour cousin.
But that's a good point. Looking back on this, maybe this will help you feel better from back.
Yeah,
then.
this is like a walk in the walk. This is frustrating
is.
for him. I can
No,
see the frustration. He brought it into specific detail. Mind you, he just got here 1 hour ago.
He literally came to visit for that weekend. Okay, he came on a Friday at 4:00. By Friday at 5:00, one girl on the block. I'm not going to say her name because God knows she might be watching because she's still out there. And I was like, I was dying to go out with her. She wanted to go with my cousin. And my cousin wasn't even interested. And I liked her so much, I convinced my cousin to take her out to think maybe I would have a chance after he leaves.
Oh,
let me shed some. That's funny. Let me shed some light on something though.
I was trying.
Might be kind of useful to people who are watching, especially younger viewers if they're grappling with this kind of thing, or people who are recently back out on the market. I think that a lot of times people shy away from the real deal because they're afraid to commit. They'd rather go for somebody they just met, have no idea. They're not threatening in that way. I think in a funny way, when you get friend zoned, you could take it potentially as you were threatening to them because you're too much of the real deal. I'm not saying that is always the case. Sometimes people get friend zoned because they're like, sorry, I'm just actually not attracted to you. That can happen. But I think that people get scared off by kind of the real deal. So the thing that I was going to talk about in Walking the Walk, we can continue with that, with Eric being friend zoned and really all three of us.
Oh, and by the way, my cousin was a lot better looking than me, I have to say, in all honesty.
Well,
So
there was that too.
I got to throw that out there. He was actually quite a stud, I must admit. So just
Okay.
want to put that out there.
I used to get friend zoned a lot as well, in the same way. Good listener, I make them laugh. I got friend zoned a lot, and then my problem was that once you got friend zoned, then now how do you become a dirtbag? Like once you already in the friend zone, now how do you like become a dirtbag? And that's the problem, which is crazy.
It's even worse. If you did decide to do that, you would be regarded as the worst. Because they'd be like, I know you. What are you doing? I used to find this when I was like in my early 20s. I'd be looking around and I'd be like, all these girls, they just want to be with like the biggest asshole. Like, and so then I was like, okay, I guess I'll experiment with this a little bit. And I tried to just not be as nice, and they hated it. They were like, fuck you. Like,
you know
and
what's
I was
crazy?
Like, I think when it comes down to it, it fits with what Eric was saying, or what I observed in what Eric was saying, is you just got to be you. You don't try to be someone else.
I couldn't try. I couldn't be any other way if I tried. And then when I tried, I looked like a fool. So
Well, you know what's crazy, Dr. Dan? Going back to what you just said, I had a friend the same way. He was like, dude, you're too good to these girls. You gotta be an asshole. And I tried it, and it was the other way around. They found me more interesting. Not like I was like an asshole like that, like treating them like shit, but just to show them that you really didn't care, or they weren't in your mind as much, or like just brush them off like that. They will pay you more mind than you being there.
Let's make an important distinction here. See, I think it's a problem that that's getting labeled as being an asshole. It can relate to that, but what I think is true is more what you hit on there. If you're more indifferent, that does ease people up. They don't feel like you're coming at them so much. They don't feel like they have to commit so much. So to me, it's more about the indifference than it is actually being a jerk.
Not showing your hand. You know what I mean? It's like poker. You don't play it. You don't show your cards right away. And I think that's a mistake I made as an overly sensitive guy. You throw all your cards on the table.
And as an overly open guy.
Overly open, and there's no mystery to it, and there could almost be a sense of almost desperation because you're just throwing all your stuff out there. If you're indifferent, then you're mysterious all of a sudden, and then you allow them to throw in the conversation. They're curious. They want to get to know you now because you didn't throw all your cards on the table. So sometimes maybe it's just holding things closer to the vest might work,
Nice.
But it's interesting because, what we're talking about is, like, we don't really want to do that anymore. And obviously, the whole world isn't like dating when you're a teenager, so thankfully.
Well,
So let's go into this quick walk in the walk, Dr. Dan, before we run out of time. So this is a great topic.
The thing that I was going to talk about is, we have all these ideas of expectations of what women want for us. I was going to kind of talk about the opposite side, which is, sometimes I can get a sense that women do expect something of me, not just women, but also guys. There's an expectation of how a guy is supposed to be, which, fits with breaking the mold. We've talked about this, but I always found it very hard that I would sometimes be judged. There was kind of an assumption that I was going to be like a guy, like a guy is. And I was like, there's so many ways in which I'm not, And I think that is increasingly coming to light for people, that like men are not all one way and women are not all one way. And when we treat people like we expect them to be based on their group, it can be really alienating. When I went away to college, I got there and I quickly learned there were so many expectations about who I was that were based on all kinds of things. And I'm not even saying it's unfair. There had been a lot of experience of men mistreating women or being misogynistic or all kinds of things. But I found it so weird to get painted into that corner and be like, you don't understand me at all. And I just didn't know how to find my way out of that. Like, I found that was a very hard position to be in. Making a long story short, I think when expectations are brought to us, whether we are expecting expectations of other people or they're actually having expectations of us, it can be really hard to feel like we can break out of that and show people who we really are. I'm curious if you guys have had some similar experiences and how you dealt with it, if you did.
You want to take a stab at it, Eric?
That's Edgar's way of saying no. I don't. I think I kind of grew up growing up as a Latino male. There were expectations of what a man is supposed to be since birth, culturally. You know, I mean, Edgar could attest to this. From the day you were born, if you had a penis and two balls between your legs, you were going to be a certain way, and there were certain expectations. And I didn't meet any of them. For any of them, you know, I have no machismo whatsoever. Obviously, I don't have kids, as I've said. You know, I chose a different path than my uncles and my dad and all this stuff. You know, even though my dad, I must admit, he kind of broke the mold in his own way, because he was a quiet, laid-back, sensitive guy who liked to cook. So he was kind of ahead of his time. You know, so I could say that's probably why, because some of his blood is in my veins, and that's probably why I didn't go all full machismo, because he was the only one out of his whole family that didn't fall under that umbrella either. It wasn't until it was a kind of actually a shameful point for me, especially when I would be around my family, because I just didn't fit the mold of what a man should stereotypically be, or what you would expect of a man. And, you know, I would always kind of just feel like I didn't fit in. It wasn't until I grew up that I, you know, felt more comfortable in my own skin that I did. But I grew up feeling like there were expectations that I would never meet.
Interesting. Very interesting.
All right, now, Edgar, you had your way of saying no, but I want to circle back to you. Is this something you can relate to? It's okay if not.
It's okay if you can't. It's okay if you can't.
No, I just forgot what we were talking about now. I forgot after Eric's explanation. I forgot what the question was. So I don't know. I think I'm a hopeless romantic. You know, I could tell you guys, I got married at the age of 17 the first time around. You know, and I've always tried, but to me, one of the things that ruins a relationship are expectations. I think if you don't communicate what you want from the very beginning when you meet someone, and vice versa for that same person to communicate with you what we really want from this, then you're lying, you know, then you're going to expect things. And I always lived on expectations. I'm going to expect this, and then I didn't get it. And then boom, it was a shocker. So I don't know if this has anything to do with what you were talking about, but
absolutely not even in the slightest. I think Edgar's on episode 11 of Brothers in Arms and has not quite caught up to the current episode. He's about 3 episodes behind in that explanation.
I threw Eric under the bus, and then Dr. Dan threw me right back on. I was like, no.
Yeah. And listen, whenever someone says, "Hey, you want to take a stab at it?" Translation: I can't do it. Can you?
Yes, and then right. Dr. Dan flipped it right back on me.
You know, I'm sorry, Edgar. I thought what you were saying is, I can't do it yet, but I'll be ready soon. And then I came back to you, and you were like, "I'm not ready. What are you doing?"
No. No, he literally that was a Magic Johnson no look pass, Eric.
But here's the thing. I mean, I think what you said, Edgar, is brilliant and really important, because I think the idea.
Thank you, Dr. Dan.
You are welcome. I'll pull you right back out from under the bus. The fact that expectations can cause such problems is exactly what I was talking about. I mean, I went to, when I went away to college, all kinds of people were bringing expectations to me, and it prevented them from being able to find out about me. It prevented them from being able to grow themselves. And then I didn't have the wherewithal yet to live outside of their expectations. I didn't know how to do it, so I was just getting crushed by them. And I think it's a really important point that we can finish up on this today, but the whole idea that expectations cause problems, expectations are in a way the opposite of listening. We think we heard something, and we just go with it. Mm-hmm. You got to cut through that. You got to back up and say, I'm not even sure that I'd be right about that. Let me actually listen to find out. You take all those expectations off, and then you can have a whole different relationship. So
you see that, Eric?
Yeah.
My weird ass answer just got that.
No, expectations are bad because when you have them, like when you ask Edgar a question and you expect him to answer, he won't.
He won't.
Okay? He'll ask Eric
right
to
back
answer.
Under the bus.
There you go.
Nah, man, but I really do enjoy this topic. One thing that I'm gonna do, and I don't know if you guys should do the same. I wanna ask older women. I'm gonna keep asking this question, but the days to come, I'm gonna keep asking women 3 things that they look for in a man. But I wanna ask someone my age or older, and then someone young to see the differences in the answers. And to everyone listening and viewing, please write the comments down below. Tell us what you look for in a man. If you're a female, tell us what you look for in a man. If you're a man, tell us what you look for.
If you're a man, tell us what you look for in a man.
Exactly.
If you're looking for a man, whatever you are, let us know. We'll talk.
All right, let Eric know. But listen, write your comments down below. And at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know what to look for. It's different. Everyone is different. We're all different in every way, So for all the single fellas out there that are looking, I mean, really, really think about what you really want and stop expecting and just be yourself and be honest with yourself, because that's the first step that we got to take. Just be honest with yourself. If you want a relationship to work, keep it honest. And
your penis is just fine.
Yes. Okay. Yes. You know what, Eric? You know what I just heard? One of the comments that someone wrote on what they expect in a man is to change a tire.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I am not the man for that.
That's a good one. And I have actually changed a tire in recent months, and it only took me 2.5 hours. I'm very proud.
I actually have changed a tire twice in my life, and both times were very long.
But you made it. But you made it.
Yes.
There you go.
That's expectation. You're driving with your girl or your wife or your other in a car, and you get a flat tire. You best believe that woman is going to look over at you and be like, what are you going to do?
I'm calling AAA.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, fellas, man, thank you. Thank you for this. I enjoy this topic. I think
always enjoy talking to you guys.
It was more on the lighter top, conversations that we had, but it is true. We definitely got to visit this again. And thank you, man, to everyone listening and viewing, man. Thank you all for the support. Like I said, write the comments down below, comment on it, share the video with your friends, spread the word, man. I believe every man out there should be definitely listening to this podcast. And thank you all, man. So Dr. Dan, you want to take us out?
I will take us out as usual. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we will get back to you personally.
Yes, brothers in arms.
Primordial.
And the way he walked back.
That's going to be my, like Stan Lee says, Excelsior. I'm going to say primordial.
Good one, bro. Good one.